What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Get Bucked, episode 6. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson, and as usual, I get the pleasure of being joined by my co-host, Jackson Muniz. Jackson, what's going on?
Not much, man. I'm finally ready to get back into this. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these.
Yeah, right? We're back. Thanks for carrying the load last week with episode 5, getting some California Crown Stakes action. How'd your picks turn out?
We've had better days before. I really needed National Treasure to hang on, and he did not. He had a really easy lead, I thought, and just had nothing left in the stretch. So whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back though, because that was not easy carrying the whole conversation for 30 minutes straight. That was rough. I like the back and forth banner we have.
Absolutely, same here. Yeah, talking to yourself definitely gets boring. So yeah, I'm happy to have you too. I was down in Mexico, like Tulum, just enjoying the vacation, and ADWs are not legal there, so I had no way of watching any of the races until they were posted like on Twitter or on Equibase, basically like 8 hours after the fact. So yeah, I was able to watch the main California Crown. The only work I did was debuted the new show over at HHH with Noah Maher on Pacific Horse Players. New episode's actually coming out tonight. We're going to be live on YouTube at 9 Eastern, 6 West Coast time. So we'll be running that back. But that was the only work I did. I was able to pick Subsanador on top. Needed Johnny Padres, though. As you know, I was texting you my plays. Needed Johnny Padres, and I think I would have hit the late pick 3 there. I think I went 1, 2, 3 in the late pick 3 was number wise. But yeah, on to bigger and better days. No show from Johnny Padres, I guess. I still haven't looked at the race chart to see where he finished, but you said he wasn't close, so I won't bother. Mike Smith down the hill, I guess. Whatever. Great ride. I got to watch all the replays still, but we're back into the swing of things. We're going to be covering Keeneland opening day Friday. We have 3 stakes, all graded. Grade 2 Phoenix, the grade 2 Jessamine, and the grade 1 Darley Alcibiades. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm excited. We're going to break down our top 3 picks from each race, and then we are going to conclude with a pick 5 ticket from each of us, $50 budget. This time we both managed to stay under that budget, so I'm pretty proud of us.
I could have gone way over easily.
Oh, same. Some of these races are impossibly tough. You got to find a way to narrow it down. I don't have a single in my ticket. I know you have a single in yours. So it's just kind of one of those days. But picks are up on the screen, and here we go. We're going to start off at a 7 furlong allowance, non-winners of one other than. We picked this race a little different. I went 9-7-2. You went 5-2. I'm going to go ahead and have you kick us off here because you have Great Richie M.
Yep.
20-1 on the morning line, ridden by Adam Beschizza, trained by John Ennis. How'd you get here?
Yeah, this is Keeneland racing for you. We're picking 20-1 shots in the very first leg. And a little spoiler, I think my shortest price I have is like 5-1 in all these races. I mean, just all these fields are so deep and competitive that I just hesitant to take a short price on anyone, really. This is a horse I had last time he ran at Churchill. I was a big fan of him that day. He got the job done, did it well. I like that he was close to the pace. I like that he pressed in that second half of the race where you see the red fractions where he made his move into the hottest part of the race and still was able to hang on. And he won that race pretty easily in the end. The horse he beat, Sir Grayland, came back to win by like 5 or 6 lengths. He dominated that field that he came back to face. So productive race, I think. And the race 2 back was actually pretty good too when he ran into Barksdale. And Barksdale in the spring was razor sharp. He beat Great Richie M that day, came back at Aqueduct, won by open lengths. So he was in good form. Then he ran like the Woody Stevens, and he set that suicidal pace where they opened up like 10 lengths on the field. It was just dumb. But the point is he was razor sharp at the time, so no shame in chasing him home. Good. I like that he's been keeping good company. I think he's going to get a good trip in here. Has to get a little bit faster, but he hasn't ran in 5 months. He's a 3-year-old. These horses, they continue to improve. And you look at his overall form, that's pretty much what he's done. He improves almost every single time. I don't see a reason why he can't keep improving. I think he'll get a good trip, like I said. I wasn't in love with any of the favorites in here, so gonna take a swing here with the big 20-1 shot.
Hey, I like it. I'm never gonna talk you off a horse like that. Fast Anna's the sire. We all know that he has a quite the runner going on this year with that Grizzly Bear. But yeah, ever improving horse. Definitely fits with the race style here. Just gotta hope Beskica gets gives a good ride. But yeah, he should be right there. He should set a good trip. So I like the pick. That's starting us off in a big way. My top pick for the race is number 9, Band for Life. I bet this horse. I believe I might have singled this horse last time at Saratoga at a decent price. Beat Hurricane Nelson, who was kind of just a runner-up up until he won his last out race, but he finished, I think, a somewhat distant third in between those two. But I thought this horse just kind of shaped up or fit in well. Rather with the pace in here, should just kind of sit the outside trip. We know the Keeneland track, especially early on dirt, typically plays speed favoring. So I thought this horse is just going to kind of sit maybe 2, hopefully no more than 3 wide with Luis Saez. I thought this horse was well bred. I thought you kind of tossed those last 2, just didn't really like the wet tracks. And then, you go back to the debut, ironically on the wet track, ran a really good first out race going the 93. Went 2 turns at Keeneland. I think the form's just kind of muddied up. I think this horse is back to doing what he is going to want to do. 3-year-old facing older, but we're pretty late in the year, and it's a January 3-year-old if you pay any attention to that. So I don't know. To me, this horse just kind of made sense on top. Nothing too creative. And then before we get to the number 2 horse, I do want to talk about a price that I do like as well. And that's I don't know. I'm just guessing with how to pronounce this name, but this horse is a horse that I like. I thought, last out just kind of ran at Kentucky Downs because you see the $200,000 purse. That's absurd. But that is what it is at a time like this. You have Connection just going to run in those races, just to try and get, a slice of that big pie. Now you go back to Keeneland, Gerardo Corrales on board. I like their combo. They're sneaky 13% overall, 25% at Keeneland, not the greatest ROI with less than $2, around $1.30. But I thought this horse, just tactical wise, that's not how I wanted to say that, but I'm getting back into the swing of things. Everybody forgive me. But 2 back, I like the race that he ran, beaten maidens, faced winners, obviously Kentucky Downs, but now gets back to dirt, which I do believe is what he wants to do. He's certainly bred that way, bred by Shadwell Farm, who we all know is pretty good with their breeding. Obviously started with them down at Pletcher, you see at the bottom. But I think just like sprinting, should get a good draw, should project to set a good trip. And I'm just trying to beat the 2 here in this race with the maiden facing winners for the first time. And I'll kind of use that to pivot back to you. Montalcino, you picked this horse second. I have this horse third. What did you like here, other than that strong buyer first out?
Yeah, strong buyer first out. And I remember we were talking before this race happened. We were talking, and he was taking a lot of money. I think he was like 8 or 10 to 1 more in line. Got bet down to 7 to 2 for Cherie DeVaux, and did well. Broke well, got to the lead. Was dueling the first quarter mile, then took back, went around the favorite, and just won pretty easily in the end. I know it says geared down. He wasn't geared down. Maybe the last stride, the horse was gaining on him. Ignore the gear down. Not true. But now he's getting Lasix. They paid a lot of money for this horse for a Take Charge Indy full. They paid 40 times the stud fee. That's pretty significant right there.
Absolutely.
Just makes a lot of sense. Should get a good trip before they placed. Facing winners for the first time. I didn't love, but he's definitely the one to beat. And I definitely preferred him to the 1 or the 9 horse, who are the other 2 short prices in here.
Yeah, definitely. The one, I just don't like horses leaving Brad Cox into Chad Summers, even though he runs a lot for the Gold Square Racing. Obviously, we're at a track that Brad Cox has a lot of runners. Air of Defiance was a brilliant 2-year-old last year in those 2 races. Obviously finished second to Fierceness, and he's probably going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then came out in his next and romped, and then we haven't seen him since last October, basically a year almost at Keeneland. But to touch on Montalcino, yeah, we did talk about this horse. Hurricane Nelson, you see, ran third. That's this is the race kind of in between my Band for Life and the winner, or the race that Hurricane Nelson won. Montalcino, yeah, bet like a real thing. It was one of those kind of they knew Saratoga horses. So I'm curious to see if he takes money again in this spot. Definitely, wowed with that buyer. I agree. The gear down didn't look geared down to me. Just looked like maybe was, just kind of coasting. But I wouldn't say geared down. Irad just, knew he had it wrapped up, but he wasn't wrapping up by any means. So, yeah, I like Montalcino. I think he's dangerous in this spot. I don't know. I kind of want to beat him on top just because I think this would be the spot to do so. Now we get into some of the good, graded stakes races on the card. We have 3 straight here coming up. First is the Phoenix. I picked the race 154. You picked the race 245. We'll start with you. Hear Me Song. Good couple runs last 2. What drew you to this horse?
Yeah, this 6-year-old is in the best form of his life. All of a sudden, this summer he got really good. Loved the race 2 back. Obviously, was able to crack the 100 buyer mark and won that race pretty easily. Was second and on Derby Day to Gun Pilot at a big prize, but he got the lead. So he's been keeping good form all year. Last time was probably his best race, I think. He did all the dirty work because Skelly is a very fast horse, and he chased him the whole way around. They opened up, I think they were 2 or 3 lengths behind the next horse, so he was the one chasing that horse home the whole way. Again, did the dirty work. Didn't quite get the job done, but he ran fine. He ran 3rd, career best, and now he's gonna be the right spot this time, right? Because I know you like the one Federal Judge. He's gonna be go to the lead. Safi entered a rabbit. It appears, so it's all speed, but doesn't really have a chance. So I'm guessing those 2 are gonna go, and they're gonna hook up. And this is the horse that's gonna sit right behind him, get the best spot. Has the best figures outside of the favorite, who may or may not be fully cranked. So 6-1 seems like a very fair price to be on this horse. And he loves Keeneland. He's never been out of the exacta in 4 spots and 4 tries at Keeneland.
Yeah, absolutely. I have that in my notes as well. Obviously, love those horses that are kind of horse for course type angles. I picked the number 1 Federal Judge on top that we were talking about. I know there looks to be a lot of speed. We mentioned the Safi Rabbit, which we will talk about because I picked the 5 second, which is a different Safi, or the other Safi, main Safi, I guess. You picked him 3rd, so we will touch on that horse and we will touch on the probable rabbit. But I did like Federal Judge in this spot. 2 races with Brad Cox. Both have been pretty good. First one kind of off a very lengthy layoff of over a year at Saratoga this summer, which obviously that's no gimme. Lost to Full Screen, who's a decent horse, and then came back and romped against Accretive, Lightman, and a lot of other good ones to get that 95 buyer. Went right to the lead and just kind of kept going. We're only going 6 furlongs today, so I like to have furlong cutback. And then Pratt from the rail. We all know how dangerous Pratt is and how great he handicaps those races that he rides in. So he knows that there's a horse to the far outside in the number 7 that's getting blinkers. It's going to send. He knows that there's other speed in this race. I think he's just going to send to a clear lead, and I think at 6 furlongs he'll be able to hang on. I think they are going to go. I think he is going to go wicked fast, but I think he's going to be on the lead by himself. I just think he's going to be uber aggressive from in there. And I just kind of like that move because I think he might be able to get him, maybe a slight breather in that second quarter, and that might be all you need. But I think they might go, 21-3 Pratt on this horse, and then I'm hoping for like a 45-2, and then I think we could hang on. I don't know that I'll get that. That's just kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm thinking Pratt's going to be real aggressive. And I think if that's the case, I think we have a good shot. I think he has a good shot at winning here. So yeah, I got Federal Judge on top. Now we can talk about.
I couldn't quite get there with him just because I don't know. He needs to get faster, and the last time he had a pretty perfect trip, right? He was unchallenged the whole way, and he only got a 95 for that. So now I think I think he's gonna have more pressure today, and now he's gonna have to deal with some legit closers coming behind him, and he has to improve another 5 or 6 points to win. So just for me, I can't get there with him at 3-1, but I can definitely see why you would.
That's definitely fair. He's probably. I'm hoping for like 7-2. I think might be fair because I think Nakatomi is going to get hammered in here. Yeah. Who we are going to talk about right here because you have this horse 2nd. I have him 3rd. Obviously the horse to beat at this, but Federal Judge does have to get faster. I like the improvement from the first off the layoff to the second. Another improvement like that, plus 5 points, puts him at about 100. It's probably going to take about 100 to 102 to win this race, I would imagine. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. We'll see on Friday when the race is run. But let's talk about number 4, Nakatomi. What did you like here? Obviously, the horse to beat, as we mentioned.
Yeah, he's the horse to beat. Those 2 105s just leap off the page. Ran a really good race in Dubai as well. 3rd in the Breeders' Cup against what was a pretty stacked race. I thought last year. I thought that was a really good group, and he was right there with them. when he, went to the front and took back and then still rallied. So his best wins this race. It's quite that simple. He might be the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Sprint as of right now. My only real concern was, is this the target? Because it's definitely not the target, but is he fully cranked up? Is the real question. I don't know if he is.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I asked the same question: is he really cranked up? We see last year he kind of used this Phoenix to springboard into the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Ran a 99 off that layoff from a mid-July effort at Saratoga, and we see a very similar kind of setup here, except he ran in the Grade 1 Vanderbilt instead of an optional claimer. But either way, I think you brought up a good point. I don't know that he's coming with his best, but anywhere close to his best, and he's winning here. Even I would say 90%. An A- effort could be enough here. I think, again, this is a horse that's a pretty short price. Wesley has the Breeders' Cup Sprint in mind, so he's not necessarily aiming for this to be, the be-all, end-all for the race. I think trying to beat him is probably the right move. And then real quick, let's move on to the number 7, which neither of us have, but this is the other Saffy we were talking about. Blinkers on, swerving. Saffy, you got to imagine, this is a rabbit. You said it. Just has to be gunning for the lead just to try and heat this pace up for the 5 horse. You see the Bullet in 46 coming in. I mean, this really just does feel like a send and then wait for this horse, who I have second and you have third, to kind of come and pick up the pieces.
Yeah, the 7, you can go back to his form or his figures. He's got a 172 early pace figure and a 159. I mean, that's as high as you're going to see. He's fast if they want him to be. Blinkers are going on, trained by Saffy. This is the rabbit. And you go back to the 5. Look who the owner is at number 5, and I know who trains him, but he also owns the 5 horse. Savvy Joseph does. So this is the horse they want to win. I'm just not quite sure if he's fast enough. I know he had the big 100 speed figure in that one race 2 back, but other than that, he's not close to being fast enough in this spot. So that's why I used him mostly. Going to use him mostly underneath. I think more as a C type. I would say.
Yeah, I like it. I kind of agree. Run Classic and Sibelius 2 back. Those are pretty good horses in the sprint division. Obviously not their best form, and they probably would not be anywhere close to favored in here. I do like about Comedy Town that he can kind of sit off going the 6 furlongs, which this race is going to be run at today. Can kind of close a little bit from off of that. Doesn't have to be too far out. Not the biggest fan of Drayden Van Dyke. However, he's done really well at Gulfstream Park, so good for him. And I do like the 100. His best speed figure came on the fast dirt, which is what we're projected to get at Keeneland. So that's at least something to look for. And Federal Judge, I think, is obviously, as my top pick, is going to send. If Swervin and Louis Saez are really, really intent on pressing that pace and getting to the lead, it might set up really nice for Comedy Town. I gotta wonder, how fast they go, where Nakatomi ends up sitting, because he can be tactical. He can sit a half length or so off the lead like he did in the Vanderbilt, or he can come from 4 or 5 lengths off of it. So that's something you obviously like to see, and that makes him tough in this spot. But I still do like Comedy Town. I think you might just get the jump on him. 22 flat, just under 45. You might get a similar setup to that. And Gulfstream Park, I mean, not that it plays that similar to Keeneland, but it is, speed favoring for the most part. So coming from off the pace is always something I like to see.
Yeah, I think you raised a good point about his only fast track was the time he got the 100 buyer figure. So maybe just not as good on sloppy track, which is a fair point.
Yeah. All right. If you don't have anybody else you want to talk about, we're going to go ahead and move into what I think we would agree is the hardest race on this card. And our picks show it. I picked the race 386. You picked the race 1127. So we went 6 different ways in here. I will let you start us off with the number 11 horse. Oh, sorry. That is Miss Linnell at 15-1 for the Catman, Wayne Catalano. What do you like here?
Yeah, don't love the post, but I do like the price, so I'm going to take a shot here. Debut was pretty good. She had a little bit of trouble in the turn. Not much, but just enough that I think it made the difference. She finished a strong second to She's All Charm, who I think she ended up coming back and splitting the field on a Kentucky Downs Stakes race, but she also had trouble that day, and she was like 2-1. She was one of the favorites in that spot, so pretty good company kept there, I believe. Last time, I really liked her race last time because Kentucky Downs was, overall, the meet was definitely more speed favoring than it was to the closers. And that race was very, it favored the front runners. The top 4 behind her, I think, were all in the top 4 or 5 throughout. So she's the only one that kind of made a move from behind. And she traveled like the winner the whole way. She was loaded. She had a little bit of trouble again, but once she finally got to the clear, she took off. And I think there's more in the tank because she was definitely green in the stretch. She was trying to lug in a little bit. I know she only won by 3/4 of a length, but if she's able to straighten that out, I think she wins by a lot more than that. Catalano, like we said, I think Noah and I were talking about it yesterday that he doesn't get him ready first out. So the fact that she did run so well first time out kind of tells you how good she could be. And I don't know. I'm a little concerned that the buyer dropped that much, but maybe it's Kentucky Downs is just a weird track, and maybe it's a tough one to make figures for. I don't know. I think she'd get a good trip. She should be forwardly placed on the stretch out, and we'll see. 15-1 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at this race, and I wasn't so much, or sorry, I was looking at this horse. I had Miss Linnell in the debut on top, and I just realized that I remember this race very vividly now. And yeah, I don't like it. So I'm not going to talk you off of 15-1 though, especially considering bet down at about 3.5, 7-2, I guess would be those odds. Last time out at Kentucky Downs and ran like it. So you like to see that. Wish she got the job done that first time, but I digress. I'm taking a similar approach. I'm taking a 20-1 shot on top. That's the Shea away. Robert Medina for Christian Torres. I just think this horse is going to be overlooked in this spot. Ran a pretty good debut race. Yes, the buyer's light, but 2-year-olds can improve race 1 to race 2. So I thought this horse had a pretty good tactical trip. Yes, drew the 1 hole, but draws inside again here today. So I think that gives this horse a good shot. Not to mention won by open lengths with Adam Beschizza on board, who finds more trouble than Joel Rosario in turf routes on occasion. I love the breeding on this horse. This horse is a half to Wonderful Justice, who is an excellent turf router, I believe, for Brendan Walsh. This horse has 2 turf routes coming in here, has the stamina. I'm tossing the last at Kentucky Downs. I don't really know I almost never know what to do with the form at Kentucky Downs, just because it's all over the place. And some horses relish it, some horses hate it. So for me, I don't really take it as anything for 2-year-olds other than experience. Once they kind of get older, I'll look a little deeper into it. But for right now, I just look at that as improve the buyer by 4 points, even though, ran what looked like a pretty crappy race. But comes in here, gets Christian Torres, who I like. These connections hit at 15% with a $2.13 ROI over the past year. I think this horse is one of the most well-bred. Bothers me a little bit that sold for about 60% of the sire fee or the stud fee, but I can get over that for 20-1. In addition to that, was a little over 5-1 last time out, and now you get 20-1. If I remember correctly, I want to say that Mark Cassie won this race last year with a massive price. So I know we've seen prices in here before, unless I'm thinking of Can Group.
That was a gelding or a colt.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. All right. Swing and a miss. Oh, well, my memory is only, as good as about 3 days prior. Also broke slow last time at Kentucky Downs. But anyway, 20-1 on top. I think this is a race you can find a price. There's nothing too convincing in here that says there's no Euros. There's no massive, I don't know, superstar. Yeah. Speed figure edge horses. There's nothing, there's not a whole lot to go off of. So I think this one is obviously ran for the $1 million last time too. So that's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
But comes in here hoping for a good run, hoping to just, get a bit of a thrill coming down the lane. I think this horse can set a pretty good trip. I like the late pace figure of 97 as well. So yeah, I'm taking Sachet away. And then if I'm correct, you have the 2 next. Yeah. 11-2-7. Isla Capri for Brendan Walsh.
Yeah. Just real quick. I just think you brought up a good point about the Kentucky Downs form and how, historically it's what happens at Kentucky Downs stays at Kentucky Downs. But I also think this year, especially, there's so much money there that a lot of the top barns are finally taking their best horses there.
Mhm.
I'm a little curious to see how it holds up this year because I think there's a chance that we're seeing better stock there, better horses, and you might actually see some horses translate that to other tracks. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to be one that's just going to toss them blindly like I usually do. I think this year might be the year that finally flips.
Yeah, that's fair.
This
Because oh, sorry, last
no,
I
no,
think there's I think there's that stat where like Kentucky Down shippers into the Breeders' Cup are
yeah,
for 38 or something
yeah,
silly. But I agree with you. The amount of money that's there, I think you got a lot of A stock that came over. We saw, I think, more Euros than I ever remember seeing
definitely.
the past few years. You had some really strong contenders come over. So I'm in agreement. I think we get we buck a trend, so to speak. But I'll let you take over now. Isla Capri for the Tabors and Brendan Walsh.
Yeah, this is just a horse I had him on a debut, and she broke like a rocket. I mean, she shot out of there, got to the front, ran that field off their feet, and was really impressive doing so. They were never getting to her. She won going away, galloped out well, and I'd be surprised if she's not on the front end again in this spot. Should stretch out based on the pedigree. Just a speed play here, 9-2. Makes sense on figures. Could improve too, especially for Walsh. She's not always fully ready to go first time out, so not gonna be surprised if this one runs well. Makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a good run first time out. My notes for the 1 and the 2 were pretty similar. I just thought they're bred more for sprints. Obviously the 6.5 though at Kentucky Downs does run more like a mile, so that could be something where it's just that is what it is. But I did like how Isle Capri ran that first time. Obviously the ownership group knows what they're doing. Magnier and Tabor, they have a lot of the top Euros, August Rodin, all those. So I like this. Also, sibling, you can see at the bottom on the writing there, for sibling to write off Jerry, who is a good, turfer. So definitely an interesting horse. I was fading a lot of the shorter prices, although I probably used the favorite in third. So, I guess I didn't do too good at that, but I do like Isle of Capri in this spot. I think that's they've got a real shot. My pick second is Mayday Ready for Joseph Lee, Frankie Dettori on board. I like this horse, has done nothing wrong in 2 starts. Won the debut, and I like how he did it, or like how she did it. I like the breeding, definitely bred to go long, and certainly relishes the turf to this point. This trainer is 4 for his last 9 with an $8 ROI for 2-year-olds. You got to love those numbers. You get Frankie Dettori on board. And they hit it at a 100% clip outside of Keeneland. They've never run together at Keeneland. Obviously, 2 for 2 is just with these 2 runners, but you got to like that Dettori sticks for one more go in this race. I thought they went, relatively slow in that first one. I want to say I used Love Tempo in that race because I think I remember this horse beating me. But you got a good price, 25 to 1 on the debut, where they didn't. They went a little fast, I guess it says on time form for the 2-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the good turf. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you have the last time out, they're going a mile, 23, 45 and 1. That's obviously flying. I think he's going to get some pace to close into again today, though. I like his closing kick. I think he's going to be able to sit a decent trip. And I love Dettori on board. He's postponed his retirement for so long that he might as well just start fresh and just keep riding for years to come. So I like this horse in this spot. I think you might still get a price, maybe not 8 to 1, but I'm hoping for, in the 5 to 6 to 1 range, but there is a lot of good competition in here. It's a really deep field. And then on that note, we'll go right down to another 8 to 1 morning line shot that you picked. And that is the number 7 Ballerina Doro.
Yeah, just real quick, Mayday Ready would be my fourth pick. My fourth pick in here. I really like her debut when she made her early move into the fastest part of the race while wide and still enough to get the job done against a pretty good rival that day. So definitely makes a lot of sense in her. I'll be using her in my pick 5s as well because she's pretty logical. Then the 7 Ballerina de Oro for Chad Brown, Jose Ortiz. Good connections, obviously. She ran against Mayday Ready actually on debut and didn't really do too much. But her next start at Kentucky Downs was pretty good. Again, we talked about that it was pretty speed favoring the whole meet at Kentucky Downs. That race was no exception. The second and third place finishers were 1, 2 throughout, and this horse came from basically dead last. And those 3 that finished in trifecta were 4.5 clear of the rest. So pretty good run there against the race flow, I would say, against at least of the horses that actually ran well. And the rest of the field didn't do too much. It's pretty light on figures, but you talked about these 2-year-olds can jump up very quickly. Big late pace figures, it's Chad Brown turf, and you're getting 8-1. So sign me up. I hit a lot of money for this horse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously buyer speed figure is something you got to pay attention to, but I don't with 2-year-olds unless it's like, one of those 2-year-olds that runs like a 90 first out and repeats with like a 92. Like obviously then that's something special. But if you're running anywhere within about 15 buyer speed figures and it's like all under 75, those are all capable of, jumping up from one start to the next, especially as the young ones. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this race is wide open. I think you got to look for a price. And then unfortunately, the bad pivot here is my third pick is the number 6, Destino Doro. That looks like they went pretty fast early at Kentucky Downs first out. I want to say this was Pratt's first ride at Kentucky Downs. And of course, he finds the winner's circle at 8-1. Yeah. So unbelievable how this guy just manages to win and still pops at prices sometimes. But it's awesome to see, with him, once being a West Coast guy. Obviously not a super live race. A couple winners have come back out, but they haven't run too great. I just think this horse won like a good thing. Won by the open lengths, was in front at with about a furlong and a half, 2 furlongs left, up by 3. This race was pretty over. Race was over pretty quick. Debuting going the mile for a 2-year-old Brad Cox. You had to know that they thought highly of this horse to try him in this spot. And to try going the route of ground. The 77 buyer, I believe, is the field best. Yeah, believe is the field best. Just wanted to confirm that real quick. Yeah, so I think this horse has a decent shot. Obviously, they went fast early last time, but I mentioned with the 8, and then you mentioned with the 7. I think there's enough pace in here. These horses are going to get a chance to close into it. And I don't know how short of a price we'll get on Destino Doro, but horse I didn't want to leave off.
Bless you.
Thank you. Hope I muted myself in time, but
I think you did.
Just swung for it. Yeah. But this is a really deep field. The 5, I thought just before we move on, I thought the 5 was a little interesting in here. A horse I really liked but couldn't get behind just because of the post and because of we didn't get like the top jockey necessarily, even though Ruiz rode the debut at Kentucky Downs. Was this horse Coretto. Won pretty, pretty professionally, going 7 furlongs at Kentucky Downs. Graham Motion, English Channel out of Kitten's Joy. Those are obviously really strong breeding connections. I just thought the post 12, with this being the second start, this horse's career, I just couldn't really get behind. I have this horse, I think is my 5th choice, but left it out of all my horizontal plays. I just want to point that out because I thought this horse was a little interesting and definitely finished with a pretty strong buyer that first time out. Moving on, let me throw up our
13
picks.
minutes. It's not too bad.
Yeah, all right. That wasn't too bad. I thought we were going to spend way longer on that race with how competitive it is. But now moving on to this one, you and I landed on the same horse, first and second. That's the number 3 and then the number 6. I'll let you take this one. You picked the number 3, Liam in the Dust, which is pretty creative for the name. I assume they're trying to do like a leave him in the dust, but Liam, because Liam's map, whatever. What took you to this horse at 10-1?
Well, first of all, I just didn't love the Saratoga fillies this summer. The only one I liked was Senza Parole, who's coming back on Saturday, I believe, at Aqueduct. But the rest of them, I just wasn't really overly impressed with any of them. So I was looking for a horse coming from a different circuit, which this horse fits that profile. Like the debut, she took a lot of money. She did it the right way, putting away that pace rival. Won by 2 lengths. They were pretty spread out, which is usually a good sign, I think. The runner-up hasn't come back yet. I think she's entered on Sunday, I believe. But the 3rd place finisher ran pretty good last time. She didn't win, but she finished 3rd against a speed-dominating track field when she was way out of it. So good comeback race with that horse. But I really like the Pocahontas she ran. I'm a big believer in race flow. And she was completely against it that day. Look where the other speed horses ended up. They were last and they were, 10th, that is. And she held on all the way to the wire, kept fighting. I think I make a mistake sometimes of just blindly going with whatever the race flow says. But those two horses that were up on the pace were, 3-1 and 4-1, I think they were. So those
Yeah.
were legit contenders. I think sometimes they was against the race flow. Yeah, but the horses that didn't do anything were 50-1 and 60-1. They had no chance. It didn't matter. That wasn't the case here. She took over the lead, opened up, just got caught late, but she ran really well that day. And she's drawn inside of the other speed horses. She picks up Pratt. She's going 2 turns this time. She'll be forwardly placed. Keeneland is very speed favoring, especially at this. I think it's a mile 16th distance.
Yeah, mile and a 16th. We got the short stretch.
Short stretch. So just get that head in front turn for home, and we'll see what happens. 10-1 is pretty good price. I think she'll come down from that. I believe the 5-horse scratched, who was going to take some money in here.
Mm-hmm.
But
the Queen's MG.
Yeah, if you get 5-1 on this horse, I'd be pretty excited about that. She's going to be my single in this sequence. Tough sequence, but we're singling this horse. Leave him in the dust. Leave him in the dust.
I like it. Well bred for the dirt route, as you said. Liam's Map out of a Bernardini mare. Bernardini mares just always produce. It has to be one of the most just productive. What would that terminology be? Brood, sire, mare, whatever. Damn sire. Yeah. Thank you. Damn sire. Yeah. So I picked this horse on top 2. I won't, say too much more because I think you got it. Only other thing was, you see how hot the pace was early. 14 out of 14 was wide pretty much the entire trip. Just dug in down the stretch and just didn't want to be passed. Lost by less than a length. Yeah, gotta love coming back here. The short stretch, any gameness from this, young Colton here is going to make this horse tough. Philly. God damn, man, Philly in here. Already. I know. I'm rusty. I gotta shake the rust off. But any gameness from this Philly down the stretch, going to be tough to pass with that short stretch at Keeneland going the mile and a 16th. I'll touch on number 6 here in a minute, but I do want to touch on the fact that we both tossed the 7 and the 8, which are going to be your 2 horses taking the most amount of money. Starting with your likely favorite in this race, Grade 1 Spinaway winner, Immersive, Brad Cox, Godolphin, Manny Franco. Finally going to be the favorite in a race after being double digits in her last 2. Shit, did it again. Out of another Bernardini mare, out of Nyquist. This horse was well bred from the start. Won both times. I think that buyer figure last time out may have just been a little bit inflated from the sloppy track run. Obviously, it was a quickly run race. I just didn't want to take this horse out of that. Going 2 turns for the first time, wide post, short stretch, and not going to be a good price doing this. Same goes with Quiet Side, although ran really well in the debut, going 6 furlongs on a fast main track, which they will get today. You got to think that Pratt kind of ends up on the 3 because Lusias chose to ride Quiet Side in here. John Ortiz, also worth mentioning, could not lose at Saratoga this summer. I think he ended 6 for 13, 6 for 10, something like that. It was ridiculous. It was off the charts. So got to fade these 2. I like how you're doing it as well. I think they're Immersive, I think, is bred for 2 turns. I think Quiet Side might be better around 1 turn. Not too sure yet, but either way, wanted to fade these 2. We both ended up on the number 6 in second. That is Quick Kick, Tom Amos, Dylan Davis. You mentioned Queen's MG is going to scratch out of here, who Dylan Davis is also the normal rider on. I don't know if I think Dylan Davis has 2 or 3, maybe 4 other mounts here. So I got to imagine he's in Keeneland all day, and someone else will pick up that mount on Queen's MG, similar to here. But I like the improvement from start 1 to start 2. I like the stretch out here. Draws a little wide, but I'm hoping can save a little bit of ground. McKinsey's had a great start to his stud career with a lot of graded stakes winners and just a good producer so far. This horse, and I have my notes, is a half to a really strong dirt router, Simordini, I believe is how you pronounce it. Obviously out of Bernardini, but really strong dirt router. So I like the pedigree there. We see Lacara, who this horse lost to on the debut. That is the horse who won next time out in the Pocahontas at Churchill Downs and just beat our top pick, Liam in the Dust. So I kind of like that common running lines there. What did you like here about Quick Kick?
Yeah, this race, at least on pace figures, they all kind of want the same trip. They all are about a 115 to 120, so they all want to be pretty forward. And this horse has proven that she's going to sit back and she's going to close. And this is more of a fresher face. Didn't do too much. I mean, I know she got third on debut, but she was pretty well beaten that day. But she was a lot more tactical second time out, which you need to be on this track. You don't want to be 20 lengths out of it. You want to be 4 or 5. So I think she'll get the right trip in this spot. No one's come out of that race, I don't think yet. At least the top two haven't. Or the second and third place finishers, I should say. But they are both entered in the Grade 1 Frisette on Saturday at Aqueduct. So they are obviously well thought of. So it looks like it's a decent field she beat that day. And yeah, it's just the horse I think could come running late.
Yeah, absolutely. This weekend's card this weekend's races across the country are loaded. There's like 18 Breeders' Cup winning your in races stateside, and I think 2 in France. I think if my numbers are right, but it's gonna be incredible. Just gonna be nonstop action, just everywhere you look. Real quick before we move on, I picked Continuity third in here. I think bred probably more for a sprint out of the Speightster on top, which is out of Speightstown, but I kind of like this horse stretching out. I think could also just kind of sit that rail draw, obviously the short stretch. Not sure how forward this horse is going to be. Ben Curtis can kind of have him placed. Kind of have her placed wherever. Could be right in front of the lead coming out of these two good-looking sprints. Could just kind of sit that pocket trip if somebody really guns and tries to get the lead here. So I'm curious to see. Obviously, I think you're going to get a really big price because I think this horse is kind of going to be forgotten about because we do have a lot of talent to the outside. I think the 3 is going to take some money. So I'm hoping, maybe 18 or so to 1 would be decent. This horse is a half to some decent turf routers. Nothing of any crazy class, but just, some consistent dirt routers. Dam is 28% dirt route producer. So should handle the route, should like the stretch out. I think 20 to 1's a decent price. And, the 79 buyer jumping up from the 38 first time out, more than a 100% improvement. Start 1 to start 2 is obviously something you like to see. And then, just powered home. You see 1 by 7. Not sure how live of a race this was last out. You see, a few horses have come back to run. None have come back to win. They've improved their buyer speed figures a little bit. So I like that. Yeah, a lot by that 4th place winner improved by like 12 points, which I like. And then obviously you have Continuity, who romped with the 79, which is right up there, puts her in competition here. So I'm a mess with this Philly and Colt thing today. I am sorry, guys. But I like this horse coming in here. I'm going to use this horse a little bit in some vertical plays. Probably just try and key this horse underneath and obviously play it once on top. But thought the horse was interesting on the stretch out.
I've seen much worse 20 to 1 shots. I mean, I don't know who she beat last time, but she looked good doing it, and the figure came back really strong. So
so
not a bad 21 shot at all.
Yeah, right. Might as well just shoot your shot, as one would say. So moving on, the last race 10 on the card. We picked this race pretty similar. I went 6-8-7. You went 9-8-7. So we'll go to you first. We'll talk about the number 9. That's Independence Avenue. We're going 5.5 furlongs. This is an allowance race. What'd you like here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at her turf sprint form. If you can toss the two routes, she looks pretty good in here. Maybe a tad light on figures, but again, this is a 3-year-old that can keep improving. 3 back, she ran in the Grade 3. She was pressing a really hot pace while wide, only being a length that day, and nothing wrong with that start at all, I didn't think. Came back at Monmouth and again had a wide trip, this time from off the pace, and just couldn't quite get there, but again, she ran well, earned a strong figure. And then last time it was against an overmatched field, but she did what she was supposed to do. She won by a couple lengths, dominated that field. I just think she's going to get a good trip in here because most of the speed is drawn down towards the inside. So she's going to be able to break from the outside. She'll get over whenever she needs to, get into a good pocket spot, maybe 2 wide, maybe 3 wide, but hopefully 2 wide. And she'll get first jump on the closers, what I was thinking. Again, she does need to get a little bit faster, but not too much. And she's 10 to 1. So let's try to get home with the little upset in the last race. I
like it. Yeah, this horse definitely has the tactical ability to get this job done, can kind of sit the trip from wherever they want. And you got to love that they're 22% jockey trainer connection. overall. So definitely something you have to look out for. I do agree this horse loves to sprint. Little light, but yeah, a step up is not out of the realm of possibility here. My top pick was the number 6. That's Barrier. I don't know. I'm not going to try Beret. Yeah.
I like that.
Wesley Ward, dangerous turf sprinter, finally gets this horse back on the turf. Has entered for the turf in the last 2, but has been taken off at Saratoga and Churchill. So a little bad luck there, but has run some really good races. Helena's Forte, trained by Phil Bauer, is a real horse. Real good horse, that is. And Beret was, right there at the finish, only won by a head. So I like this horse second off the layoff, gets back to doing what she wants to do. And that 86 buyer, 3 back last time on turf, sprinting here as a 3-year-old, was really good. 1 for 1 at Keeneland. You got to like that. Sat a perfect trip. Frankie Dettori's on board. I just thought this horse is going to be set up well. Has to be pretty forward. And I know there is a decent amount of other pace in here, but I think this horse might just be able to outclass him just based on raw ability and talent. And has faced some decent horses, given it was on dirt last time out, but has certainly faced what I believe is tougher. So that led me to picking the 6 on top.
Yeah, she makes sense in here. I think I probably had her 4th, but I was just a little concerned that she'll be a little, maybe 3 wide pressing trip, which isn't really what I'm looking for in turf sprints, so, especially at a short price. But that's just me.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that take. Absolutely. And now we picked the same 2 horses to finish it out here, 2nd and 3rd. So I'll let you take Nikki Nine Doors for Chris Davis, Gerardo Corrales.
Yeah, just if you toss those 2 races at Churchill, which we've talked about this before, it's a funky turf course nowadays. There's just weird things going on over there. So some horses just don't handle it, which she clearly didn't, because she came right back and instantly jumped back to those high 80 figures that she was doing at Keeneland. She went at Keeneland by open lengths. You don't see that too very often. A horse open up 6 lengths in the stretch in a 5 furlong race. So she's got plenty of ability. She's going to be forward. She'll probably get a pretty similar trip to the 9 horse who I picked on top. 5th or 6th, but not too far behind the pace, and just fits really well in here, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was just a little too far back that last race, to be honest. I know it was only two lengths off, but you see the winner went wire to wire. They went pretty slow up front for Ellis Park going 5.5. So I think you get a lot more speed in here. And that's kind of what led me to not be able to just single the 6 horse. Was I thought that there was enough speed that you're going to get some closers. And the 5.5, we've seen many a horse and many a favorite at Keeneland go down with that last half furlong. I'm mainly thinking of that one European runner that ran twice during the spring meet, and at 5 furlongs was home free and then just faded bad the last half. I forget the name, but it's fine. I digress.
I know.
Yeah, I know you do. And then so Judge bouncing off of that with the amount of pace. I like Cloudwalker in here. That's my 3rd choice. You obviously have Cloudwalker 3rd as well. I think she makes a lot of sense in here. Tyler G back aboard, cutting back from the mile down to 5.5 furlongs, which I like. This horse does want to go 5.5. You see this horse has a pretty strong closing kick going the 5.5, which I think it kind of, I can see why they tried this horse at a route. But I think this horse definitely wants to be sprinting. So this horse gets to do that here. 5.5 furlongs. I think the reason I picked this horse 3rd was I think he's going to be left with, he being Tyler, is going to be left with a lot to do on this horse. I know. You
got to start making you drink every time you do it, because
it is noon on a Wednesday. That would be aggressive, but I got to do something because I completely I'm all off with that shit today. But Cloudwalker, I think, just wants to be sprinting, and Tyler is going to be left with a lot to do on her turning for home. So that's kind of why I couldn't pick this filly on top. But this horse has a lot of talent, a lot of ability. The speed figures match in these sprints. So I didn't want to leave this horse off my tickets or off of my picks, rather. This horse might be interesting to kind of key underneath as well, maybe in a 2nd or a 3rd in a trifecta type spot. What did you think?
Yeah, she's super obvious in here as the best closer, right? You can toss the last one. She won a no part of 2 turns. 2 back at Saratoga. She was broke from the outside post, was very wide in the turn, and still ran on to get third. So nothing wrong with that effort. And she just shows up every time she sprints. And you look at that race at Churchill, she finished right behind Twirling Queen, who's a multiple stakes winner, and Tupi, who we saw dominate down the hill last weekend. So
Yeah.
she's got good company. I agree with you. I'm a little concerned that she'll be too far back. This isn't really a horse I would probably bet to win necessarily, but just because she's a little bit short on the morning line. But she definitely is one you need to use in your pick fives because she's one of the most logical contenders.
Well, that's a great pivot because we're about to show our pick five tickets. And spoiler alert, I did not use this 7 horse. So as we go into the pick fives, I'll go through it and we'll just kind of talk about it real quick. Let's go over your pick five real quick. You went 2-5 with 2-4-5 with 2, 6, 7, 8, 11, singling the 3, and then with 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, just that first leg, just trying to get. Really like to get that Richie M horse home at 20 to 1. That'd be pretty cool. A good way to start off the Keeneland meet, I would say. But if not, I think that 2 horse, the Sharitovo horse, she makes a lot of sense in there. That next leg, I don't know. I thought about singling Nakatomi. I'm just not quite sure if he's ready to go. I feel like he won't be. Like that's just me. So I'm going to use a couple others in there. I mean, I'm going to use Comedy Town, who you liked, and Hear Me Song. Just I think is going to get a great trip in there. So that's what I'm going to use. The Jessamine, or I'm 5 deep. I could probably add a few more if I really wanted to as well, because it's just such a deep race. Just trying to survive that one. And then we're going to try to get our single home, that 3 horse that we talked about for Pratt. Leave him in the dust. That's what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to call him Liam in the dust. I'm going to call him Leave him in the dust because that's exactly what she's going to do on Friday. So hopefully she gets home. I think she'll be, I think, again, 5 or 6 to 1. Sounds about right with the scratches and just the way I think it's going to get bet. And then try to get home with the 7 and 8 and 9 in the last race. I don't know how heavily involved I'm going to get in this pick 5. It's a tough sequence, but absolutely going to get involved on the win end and definitely in the rolling doubles. If you remember, Keeneland lowered their takeout to 15% on the doubles. It's the lowest in North America. So very, very appealing, especially when you have giant competitive fields like you do at Keeneland. So very excited to get this meet underway.
Absolutely, yeah, me too. This sequence looks really tough, especially with the Jessamine stakes. I'll probably play a couple pick 5s. I'll probably play this one. We gave ourselves a budget of $50, but I will probably add Nakatomi in that second leg for mine. But I picked at 2, 7, 9. I'm with you. I think Montecchino is definitely the horse to beat, but I love Band for Life. I want to try and get a jibe home. See if maybe we can spice things up really to start. Second leg, Federal Judge and Comedy Town are going to be my 2. Kind of taking, what I think is going to be the speed of the speed, and then the horse that's kind of going to get the right trip with Comedy Town, Drayden Van Dyke, Safi Joseph. Obviously, I just mentioned I would throw Nakatomi in there just because if she's anywhere near her best, going to be tough. If he is anywhere near his best, he's going to be tough.
6.
Shit. God. That's,
and 4 cuss words. Come on, dude.
Well, whatever. That part I don't really care about. 3, 4, 6, 8 in the next. I'm going 2 prices with the 3 and the 4. 3 I talked about. That is, sorry, just turning to my notes to make sure I got it right. That is Sachet Away in the Jessamine Stakes. And then something about her is the 4 horse. Kind of like this horse is at a price as well. Didn't really touch on her, but I like the maiden win coming out of 2 routes. Sire Mendelssohn out of 13% for turf routes, and then about 30% jockey trainer combo with about 230 ROI. So that was good enough in a really deep race that I thought I should include. And then obviously we touched on the 6 and the 8 already. Moving on, I'm using the 3, 6 and the Alcibiades. You said leave them in the dust. That's what I hope she does too, because I think you're going to get a good price, and that is going to be a really good single. This pool's got to be my guess for the over under 1.4 mil in this late pick 5 pool on Friday.
I'm gonna say over.
Yeah,
it's open. Not much else is happening that day. It's got to be.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same, probably in the 1.8 maybe. But yeah,
I think it's a good line. 1.4 is a good line. I think it's be right around that.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, I might have to go into morning line maker or line maker of some sort if I keep calling these Phillies Colts and Colts Phillies because I'm a mess today. But yeah, and then obviously I like Quick Kick enough to use her, and I swear I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm falling apart today. It's all that coffee.
It's too much caffeine for you. Can't
For
handle
real.
your caffeine.
For real. So yeah, quick kick, stretching out. Dylan Davis, Tom Amos. I like it. Both should be decent prices. I think this pick 5 is going to pay massive. But the last leg, I think, is kind of where I'm not too creative. I'm 6'8". I'm 6'8" in there. That's Nikki Nine Doors and Beret. I really think it's going to be one of those. I like your pick with the 9. That would obviously knock me out. And I'm not going to use the 7. I think the 7, who we talked about, Cloud Walker, just going to be left with a little too much to do. So just to kind of keep us in budget, I tossed that horse out. Although if budget was no concern, I would probably use that that horse in there as well. But I like 6'8". I'm pretty close to singling the 6, but I think you brought up a good point. That 3-path kind of stalking trip is not what you want going the 5.5. And I think Nikki Nine Doors has a chance to kind of tuck in, maybe save a little more ground and kind of kick home. So I did want to use that horse, but I think this pick 5 is going to pay pretty nice. I don't see it chalking out really anyway. I think the shortest price you'll get could be Nakatomi at maybe even money, but other than that, I don't really know. What kind of a short price you're going to get on anybody else. I'll do one more over under before we kind of wrap it up here. Over under for the late pick 5 payout Friday. I'm going to say 8,000.
I'm gonna go under.
Under? All right, I like it.
But when Great Richie M wins, it's gonna pay over. So
there we go.
We're cheering for over, but if we had to bet, I'd bet the under.
Hope you scoop the pool with Great Richie M, because I don't know anybody else that'll use that horse. But I will probably play a little. I like to play the pick 6 and pick 5 at Keeneland, just because they both pay consolation, which I kind of like to try and take advantage of when I can. Maybe I won't. The consolation. The consolation pick 5s are nice. I like them.
Bad.
But I play the pick 6s pretty light at Keeneland. I just press up the absolute strongest opinions. So I got to take a look at that first leg, but I'd probably single Nakatomi just to kind of hedge against my pick 5 if I don't end up throwing him in there. And then I'm going to single Sachet away and the Wesley Ward in the last. And that's kind of where I'll narrow down. And then honestly, leave them in the dust. I'd consider singling, but I might end up using, the 3 with the 7-8 just to kind of have those horses covered. Because if I get Sachet away home, I'm going to want to make sure that I have, a decent amount of coverage. So I normally keep my pick 6 tickets. I try and keep them under like $24 and just press them up when I can, because other than that, with the $1 increment, it just gets too high.
Is it? They really do have a consolation in the pick 5? I know Turfway does, but I don't remember about Keeneland. Does Churchill do it too? Is it all the Kentucky tracks?
Churchill doesn't. Just Keeneland. For the Keeneland and Turfway, But I love the Keeneland consolation pick 5s. It's it helps me play it more, just because if I press up an opinion or I fade a favorite and I spread deep, that's it helps. If you miss the leg and you hit the rest, you can kind of get a consolation. You typically make back what you put in, as long as you structure your tickets correctly. But
which you do. We all know you like your skinny tickets, so
I do. No problem with that. I love those tickets on Ozempic. What can I say? Especially those pick 6 ones. Speaking of which, and speaking of Friday and carryovers and pick 6s and all that good stuff, I will be up at Santa Anita on Friday. I will be on the simulcast show for Santa Anita, hosted by Tom Quigley. So I'm excited to be on that. We got a pick 6 carryover of, I got to check the amount. I want to say it's close to 50K. I think it's close to 50K. So that'll be nice. I'm definitely going to play a ticket into that, because we mentioned I love my pick 6s, and we're back to the $2 pick 6, which, I mean, how can you not love that? That's going to be just a lot of fun. So will you be up at Santa Anita this weekend?
Nah, I'm going to a little place called Las Vegas. So I will be firing away from the sports book at I think we're staying at South Point. They have a giant race book there, so we're fired up for that. Big guy.
That'll be fun. That'll be a good time for sure.
Yeah. Like you said, Saturday they have Santa Anita's got a great card, Keeneland's got a great card, and Aqueduct. It's just stakes action after stakes action after stakes action. So
Saturday is going to be one of those days where if you're sitting at a computer, you got 4 screens going at the same time, you're watching everything. I'll be up at Santa Anita all weekend, so I'll be catching those races on the TV. I'll have to make sure to get all my plays in before, because I think I'm working up there doing some ambassador type jobs. But either way, it's going to be a fun weekend. Friday, Keeneland opening day. We've presented all of our picks. We put our pick fives up, giving you our reasons as to why, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really fun card.
Yep. Good luck, everyone.
Oh yeah, good luck. We will catch you next week. Peace.